Hey there, it's John Paulas. You're listening to Life's Potluck Buffet. Thank you for tuning in. Today's episode is about Life's Potluck Buffet rule number 3. That story you just told about someone else was actually about you. So stick around for worksheet 3 on today's episode of Life's Potluck Buffet. The idea behind worksheet 3 is rule 3 of Life's Potluck Buffet, which is also card 3. And that is the idea that the stories we tell about other people are often really about us. I find that exploring that regularly on a daily basis helps me think about what I need to do, what I need to think about, what I need to change, just everything. Because when we tell these stories, they reveal things to us about ourselves that we don't realize. And that's why we're telling them about somebody else. It's like the back of our mind telling us that, hey, pay attention to this story. But we can't quite break through to the idea that, oh, wait a second, that story wasn't about this other person. That story was actually about me that I just told. Let's take a look at worksheet 3, and I'll explain what it looks like. If you're listening along, worksheet 3 is again one of the yellow lemon dot worksheets. On this worksheet, however, there are no dots. Instead of 3 yellow lemon dots, there are 3 stars. And remember, all of the rule cards, all 3 of those, and all 3 of the wild cards have 1, 2, or 3 stars. So there's a yellow bowl with a 3 on top of it with green filling inside of it. There's the word worksheet written in big letters in green. And there's a scene here where the Potluck Star, the flagship of the Life's Potluck Buffet fleet, has actually changed its colors to be the same colors as the bowl and the filling. So the stuff on the deck of the ship, the stack, the pilot house, the mast, are all green. The hull of the ship is yellow, like the bowl in the top right corner, and it's constructed from an extended version of that bowl. If you look carefully, you can see that they're the same design, but it's extended. And the flag is a green star, 7-pointed green star with a yellow background. And in the heavens above the ship are 3 stars, 1 large one, 2 smaller ones, which follow that pattern of the, on the blue dumpling cards, how we have 2 small dumplings and 1 large dumpling. So it follows that pattern to create a constellation. So it's shining down upon the ship, which is slipping through the waters of the night. That was rather poetic. Let's look at the instructions. In 1 line, summarize how a story you told about someone else was actually about you. Okay, let's do this. I'm going to choose a pen. Oh, by the way, speaking of pens, I think that YouTube doesn't think my handwriting's very good, because I am starting to get ads or suggested videos that are like, improve your handwriting. So all right, I get them. I don't know if the auto caption machine talked to the other algorithms and was like, hey, send this guy some handwriting tips. But anyway, I found that interesting the other day. It surprised me. But anyway, I've been starting getting these suggested videos about handwriting. YouTube's algorithms will not have been the first to comment on my handwriting, and will not probably be the last. Okay. So here we go. I think we should choose green today. I will choose green, but it'll be a darker green. And then I will... Oh, I could change the thickness of the pen. Let me change let me make it a little thinner today, so that I don't. It's a little easier to fit into this box. There's a green box with rounded corners that gives you a space to write this line of a summary of a story. It could even be like the title of the story. So, okay, here I go. This is a little complex, what I just thought of, but it's true. I'm going to say that story that I told about Salvador Dali on What's My Line, well, the Salvador Dali part was partly about me, of course. But I really think that in that story, the character I haven't talked a lot about, who I think that story is about me, is the host of What's My Line, John Daly. So I'm going to say that story that I told about John Daly. And now this is not that John Daly. This is this John Daly is no longer with us. I think he passed away in the 90s. And I'll write John Charles Daly. It's his full name, just to distinguish it, just so you know which John Daly I'm talking about, in case people see it on the screen. Maybe there'll be other fans of the work of John Charles Daly who will want to see the video. That'd be neat. And if you are a fan of his hosting of What's My Line, please let me know in the comments. So that story that I told about John Charles Daly. Oh, I didn't write was about me. I'm going to write that it's going to have to be outside the lines, which is a Dali move. Outside the line, coloring outside the lines was about me. And I think that everything that John Charles Daly stands for on What's My Line is exactly, remember yesterday I was talking about how people say, oh, you're a very good MC, you're a very good host when you have to host an event, or you have to introduce people, or you have to be the host of something. That you have a lot of good humor and camaraderie and things like that, and you create an atmosphere that's very welcoming and positive, right? And I that's exactly what John Daly did on What's My Line. If you watch any episodes of it, you'll see the way that he interacts with the guests of the show, whether they're the department store detective or Salvador Dali, or Angela Lansbury for that matter. Speaking of What's My Line, we were talking about Angela Lansbury the other day. And Murder, She Wrote. But she was a guest on What's My Line in the 50s, I believe, when she was known for other things that are now long past. So the way that he treats these guests is just with the greatest amount of respect and dignity and really care. I think that's the key word there, is that he imparts this care to the situation, that you can tell that he really cares. And the same is true with the language he would use. And he's very, very respectful in that regard. And the way that he addresses people is very respectful as well. And just the whole way that he carries himself and that he hosted that show. It's with all of the elements of good hosting that I try to have in my life. And I realize that when I tell that story about Salvador Dali kind of breaking the whole game of What's My Line, that one day in January of 1957, the reason in the first place I even look at What's My Line is because of the hosting of John Charles Daly. And the gentleness, the kindness, the respect and decency that he has, and the way that he treats the guests and the panelists and everybody involved in the show. And I really think that in a word, it's kind of dignified. And that's everything that I aspire to be when I am acting as a host. And so that story that I told about John Charles Daly was me telling myself about how I am when I'm at my best. And I want to share that with you today. So give worksheet 3 a try yourself. Think of a story that you told recently about someone else and how it was actually about you. And then think about what message you were trying to send yourself with that story. So this is basically cutting out the idea that you're trying to send a message to somebody else here, because you're really trying to send a message to yourself. We just sometimes don't realize it. If you like this episode, give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you haven't already. If you have, thank you so much. I so greatly appreciate you spending time with me and listening to these episodes. And I hope you have a wonderful day. And I'll see you next time on Life's Potluck Buffet.